should know that full well.
No. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. Almost $500 billion of inflationist liberal deficits mean more dollars chasing fewer goods, driving higher prices. But the Prime Minister says he doesn't think much about monetary policy.
Clearly.
That's no surprise. After all, it's just inflation. Given that housing and gas prices are up by a third, has he had time since he got off the surfboard to think a little bit more about monetary policy?
I just want to remind the honourable members, I know we've been gone for a while and we're back, but when we're talking in the House, we can't mention someone's name in the House. We refer to them as their title or by their writing. I just wanted to make that clear in case all of you forgot. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives play silly partisan games, we are focused on Canadians. We know that what Canadians are facing is a serious situation, and that is why we have taken real action. First of all, in disagreement with the Conservatives, we invested to support Canadians through the pandemic. It wasn't just the right solution for the health crisis, it was also the right solution to make sure our economy would come roaring back. And that's why we're moving forward on investments like childcare and housing to make sure that we're helping Canadians through this affordability challenge as well.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Carleton.
Well, every time he creates a new program, the cost of the said object goes up. For example, he spent $70 billion on affordable housing to make housing prices go up by almost $300,000. Wow. And many members of this House were not even born when Liberals first started promising to make daycare affordable. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, when will he realize that more dollars chasing fewer goods means higher prices, and that the more he spends, the higher the cost?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member for Carleton and indeed the Conservative approach on the economy is well known by Canadians, and that's why it was so...
I just want to make sure we're okay to continue. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they were soundly rejected 3 times in a row by Canadians. Our focus has been on growing the middle class and supporting hardworking Canadians throughout. That's exactly what we've been doing. When we put forward a plan for $10 a day childcare that's been accepted by a number of Conservative premiers across the country, the federal Conservatives promised to rip it up. As we choose to move forward on investing in housing, they want to give tax breaks to landlords to sell their buildings. That was the wrong approach, Mr. Speaker. This is the right one.
The honourable member for Carleton.
He likes to blame his inflation on something that's happening in a faraway place around the world. Why is it then that Canadian consumers are paying higher rates of inflation than Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, Singapore, India, China, Japan, Germany, Italy, France, the UK, the Eurozone? In fact, every country except the money-printing mammoth south of the border has lower inflation than us. Why doesn't he take responsibility for the higher cost of living that his out-of-control spending is piling on the backs of Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I am impressed to see the high esteem in which the member from Carleton seems to hold me, that I was able to create a global inflation crisis with our initiatives to support Canadians through this pandemic. Because that's exactly what he is saying. Everywhere in the world, they are seeing record high inflation. And here in Canada, we continue to invest in ways to support them with world-class childcare investments, with housing, with investments in reconciliation, in fighting climate change, in building a better future, while they choose to hide their heads in the sand.
Honourable member for Carleton.
I think the Prime Minister got the facts wrong. Other countries have lower inflation than here. France, Italy, Germany, Japan, the UK all have lower inflation rates, much lower than Canada. Only the US, which is spending money like crazy, has a higher inflation rate. And he knows that. We know that the Prime Minister doesn't think about monetary policy because it's just inflation. But he should think, is he thinking about the real costs he's putting on Canadians' shoulders? Once again, I would remind members, perhaps it wasn't understood when I said in English, so I'll say it in French. When you're in the House, you refer to other members by their riding or by their title. I think that's clear now. I've said it in both languages. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'll use an expression I used to use as a teacher. If the member for Carleton spent more time doing his homework and less time with puns, he might understand that the whole world is dealing with an inflation crisis. And yes, it's a serious crisis in all countries, more serious in the U.S. than here. But that's why we are coming up with concrete solutions like investing in childcare, creating more spaces, and investing in housing. We will continue to be there for Canadians while the Conservatives are obsessed with me.
We are in a housing crisis where people cannot find a home to call their own. It is impossible for people to find a home. They're seeing the forces of speculation driving up the cost of housing, and this federal government and previous governments haven't invested enough money in building homes that people